Hello and welcome to this new video here. I'm Chris from Synched Stories, and we're continuing on our redrawing of Tintin from the Castafiore Emerald album. Okay, so we are on page 33 and we are panel A2. And today we have a session of inking to do, and so what we're going to do is we're going to start with Professor Calculus and then see how much we can proceed, whether we can actually get the hand done as well, or Tintin, or whether his anger lines perhaps, or something like that. So we'll see. So the first thing we are going to do is just a quick announcement here. It's advertisement for the 900 degrees centigrade. This is my own project here in the works that I'm designing now, or inking and doing all that. And this is a science fiction action thriller adventure in printed format. So the actual format will be something like US letter or like that. And so this is the first book, the first printed comic book in the Unlimited Danger series, season 1. And on the back cover we have all the 8 volumes listed here, and so they all sort of make one big story. Alright, so let's go on with our video for today and the inking of Professor Calculus. Okay, so now I will open up a new calculus here, inking, and we are in part 14 now. And then I will just copy my white layer as I usually do, keeping Alt down, and I'm just dragging up a calculus ink. Right, so let's see. Okay, now we already have black and white here on the foreground background, so I can do an X and get my black as a foreground, and I select my brush B, and since before I already have this opacity 75% selected, so I don't have to do that. So I'm switching between 75% black and 75% white as when I'm erasing, so to speak. So okay, so I am going to go up in 300% or even 400%. And as usual, I have my original here on the left monitor, which you cannot see, but I can see it. And if you have a scan of this panel, you can put it up on your own monitor if you like, to the left, and then you can sort of follow along even better. So I'm going to do the outline first of the head to nail that down here. And now on the back of the head, he's a little more. Now there's something here that doesn't work. Let's see what we have. How how does this, if I go solo, it's here, but it's covered by some blue. Where does that blue come from? Oh yeah, it's my old thumbnail there. Okay. Alright, so let's see, we have calculus down there. And then I, of course, have to do multiply on that one. Okay. Good. Okay, so now let's go. And we're still selected calculus inc here, so we are. Alright, so the basic work is already done, more or less. I'm not substantially changing the outline here from the blue version. Although I may refine, for instance, the thickness here now. The thickness should be a little thicker than it is here. I see this now clearly, so we can I'm adding a pixel here or something, or even two. And then we will refine it when we remove the blue, because you cannot, you do not get the perfect estimate of how the black looks on its own here, because there may be some blue pixels sort of helping, sort of interfering, so you think you have the right outline, but actually you have, perhaps you haven't. So, and here I'm doing it a little more narrow here, because I saw here that so I shaved off some small portion there. Okay, and we can actually go down a little bit more there, and then we have part of his cheek there or something. But it's not too bad. It's not too bad. Okay, good. So let's do his hair while we are trying to get all the outline. Let's see if we can. It's a little wavy. maybe not there really. Should go down there, but not so much up. We should have like an inward motion here almost. And then it comes out a little, although not that much. Maybe there should be something like that, maybe. Okay, good. And then we have go down here, and then comes the ear. And as far as I'm concerned, I think it's always difficult to, if you have like here you have an ear, but then you have in the back sort of background, or not well, just behind the ear you have the hair, but the hair isn't just composed of an outline like the ear is. The hair is solid black. So when you have the solid black, and then you have the ear, part of the outline of the ear actually disappears, so you don't see the outline of the ear all the way. All the way. So I think that's sometimes hard to estimate. It's hard to draw like this, that you don't actually see the outline. So you have to go more by the white space that is inside there, rather than by the shape of the outline itself. So, and of course now here the line thickness doesn't really matter in terms of the hair. What matters is just that we get the right form of the outer shape of the outline, because we're going to color everything black. So now I'm sort of making circles here to gradually approximate the circular outline. So I'm not drawing it in that sense. I'm just making circles here, so I can get a more soft. One thing which would have been good would be that if they all would have the same diameter, these curls, or how you should say, then we could have used like a brush with a corresponding diameter, but they all have different diameters, so we're not really I don't think we would benefit too much from doing that then. So, but I think this works nice, this sort of motion when you like that. So okay, so now I think we can just take the what is it called? It's called the, oh whoops, that was, why didn't that work? How can, well, maybe I had to use the, but now we have anti-alias off. Okay, good. And then we can just paint, deselect, and then we can just paint with the regular black pencil here. Or we can use the brush because it's 75% and it's not so. We just go over it, each area, a couple of times, and then it becomes black. Sometimes all this switching between brushes and pens or pencils is also a little bit a time waster. So if it's not a too big area, then I prefer not to change anything. Just, and also not using too much of the paint bucket. Not is feels better. It feels more like painting than. Okay, so now let's see if we can remove the. Well, maybe we're not really ready yet. Maybe we'll keep the blue. Maybe that's better. We keep the blue all the time, and then we'll appraise everything in the when we're ready with all the lines in calculus. So we sort of use that to go over it and see whether or not it looks like the original. Well, we can do these also here. While we are at it, that one goes longer. Further down. So it's about adjustments. And one thing struck me today in terms of these fantastic shapes. One might wonder, I don't know the answer to this question, but one may wonder, did Hergé himself use whitener to correct his drawings? Did he ever use that, or did he redo the drawing, or how did he never fail, or because I haven't actually seen any discussion on that topic, so it would be interesting. If anyone knows, you can tell me in the comment section or in the comments. That would be interesting. So let's go up again, and I have to readjust my original drawing here so I can see the right part of the face here now. So I'm looking here on the original when I'm doing the glasses, and I'm seeing that the glasses look a little, I'm raising this point here to get them more circular. Maybe even they are thick, slightly thicker there also. On that in this curve here, and also so they actually look like Roman O's, like if in typeface you have like in Times or something like that, you have thicker here and thicker here and more narrow here and more narrow here. Okay, so let's ink this one as well. So here then, this is a little oval here. And we have almost, yeah, so again, this upper top right portion of the glasses is thicker, and the bottom left corner here is thicker. And then this one should be thicker all the way here. Goes something like that. Right, and it seems that this line is not so bad for the nose here. And then his nose seemingly ends here. Okay, let's fix a little bit here. It's not as thick here. It's a little, but I changed the position a little bit. As you can see, it's not the same as in my blue variant there. I moved it a little bit to the left. Okay, and then we try the eyes, and the real eyes are positioned a little higher, and they're close. As we said before, they're pretty close, and they should go. They should end a little more to the right there, and I will have to do them a little shorter on the left. Okay, and then we have this peculiar shape here. I don't know what to do to make of it. It's almost like a crescent moon lying down, and then you have some dark shape. So there's very little white in this one. And we'll do the eyebrows. The eyebrows are... Oh, I forgot the line there in the middle. So this should go straight down and almost touch the left glass there, straight down towards the nose. And this eyebrow can go a little to the left there, and it should lean like that. And then we have and then this eyebrow goes out to the and it's important that actually there is some space here to the glass, so I have to adjust this. So the blue eye, so it's just hitting the glass in just one point there. And here we have this one eyebrow has to go closer. It should be approximately the same distance as the other one. Okay, something like that perhaps. And it should start a little higher, because the perspective, we can see the perspective in those lines up here, so the idea is probably that it should go something like that. And then here it doesn't actually touch the glass, but it does go a little, the angle is slightly different from what I did in the blue. But we can fix that now. So the bend's there, and then it goes up, and then it ends a little earlier than I have, or maybe not. Maybe that's a good one. Okay, let's try it out and see how it works. And then, but the angle should be a little different, as I said here. So don't follow the blue line right here at least. Okay. It should be a little more up here. Yeah, I think that's better. Oops. And then this should be thinner. And then we should have quite a thick, even thicker. And then we should, then the line should be better here, so it has to go something like that. And this can fold down a little earlier there. Something like that, and then we have some smaller, and since we are using 75% opacity now, we don't get as much blurring around the lines. So with this, at least with this brush that I'm having, which is the hard round standard Photoshop brush. This stroke there, and then we move this other one down smaller there, and then we move this down as well to here. Maybe we can make this a little smaller. Let's do this, make it smaller. A little smaller and a little, this should be more smaller in another, okay. And then we should also add the stroke here in the middle, keeping the glasses together. It's not a bad idea. And we are having a little thingy here, and then we have a little thingy here, and this should end in a straight, almost straight there, and then a very small one. And this looks like they come out from like a radius here, so they all go to some point, and it's like a sunshine pattern, so to speak. This should be even thinner. Okay. And then we do let's do the beard now. All these all these edges. Maybe I should just use a smaller, I think I'll do that temporarily. I go down to 2 pixels so I can easier do those. And then we had this here that we talked about before, is a curve one. A curved one, because of the mouth. I think it was in last video I talked about that we wanted it to be round in shape there. It's supposed to be more round in shape, because we didn't want to have an edge very close to the mouth. This one is okay because it's at maximum distance from both the outline of the head and the right mouth line there. So it's sort of hanging in the middle, or supposed to, if I just can make it so, but as in the original, but like that. But the other one would have ended up in too close to the mouth, so I think that's why he made it softer. So this one ends up inside the line. I mean, that's one thing. That's totally doable, because you don't see it, sort of disappears altogether. But what I'm talking about here to the left is that if it sort of sticks out just 1 pixel or 2. Here on this side it's something like 5 pixels or something from each side, and that's so then we are talking about, we are painting with 4 pixels, so 4 or maybe 5 pixels is the line weight. And the rule is, at least my rule is, that the minimum distance normally is 1 line width. You must, if you're doing a nice comic book panel, then probably avoid distances that are smaller than that. So for instance, I mean, there are some, like in the eyes here, for instance, I would never have done this myself. I mean, only very knowledgeable people who know exactly what they're doing, only they sort of can make something out of that. I mean, I don't think, and even then I think it's hard to, but the thing is that what is tricky is that it's all about scale. So if you are like Hergé, I think he probably was using I mean, in some he says in one place that his panel heights when he was inking, or when he was drawing, is 9 centimeters. And 9 centimeters, I don't know how much, but that will probably be A3 format. So I mean, there are many statements of that effect that Hergé was drawing in A3 format, but then when you look at some of the videos, when they are in the studio and he's drawing, or Bob Demore is drawing in the like that, then it all looks to me like they are doing it in A2. And if you're doing it in too high scale, like we here in 400%, we have little. The difference between looking at this and looking at the final panel in the printed album is very big. So even if it maybe look good here in this scale as we see it now, it may not look good in the final printed comic book. And that is the challenge. So when the more you increase the scale when you're working with it, the more you sort of you get away from the sort of the final impression of the reader. And here, the more you sort of enlarge the scale, the more you magnify it, the more white space you think you have, but you actually so I mean, you have to see things relative, and that's why I'm always talking about line thickness, that you have to, when you're working with different scale, the only thing that is constant, and not even that, I mean, the line thickness isn't even constant other than in the panel. So that's your rescue point. So you can always compare to the panel frame or the panel border. But other than that, so we don't. So I'm preaching to myself here mostly, because you yourself, of course, completely free to do whatever you like. I mean, I don't. But I just think as a general rule, comics is about simplifying and making it clean and nice, at least if you're doing it the Tintin way. So we are trying to simplify our drawings by learning how to outline, but that the big work is to find the beautiful line in the outline. That is the sort of the challenge. It's not about, here at least in the Tintin world, the ligne claire, the clear line. Here we are not concerned with shadowing so much. Of course it happens sometimes. Hergé does a lot of shadowing. For instance, in when he's on the moon, there's a lot of shadowing in the moon, but that's sort of more extreme. You have long, very dark shadows, and you have So we can say representative of the moon, that there is no atmosphere, or very little atmosphere, and everything is very dark and very bright. And there's also shadowing in more subtle ways. You can see this in, although the characters themselves seldom have shadows. Cars, for instance, actually have shadows. Not so big, but they are not solid shadows. Most of the time they are lines, like separate long lines under the car. So that's what I have been observing, and of course, then when Tintin is in some cave, I think it was in what is it called in English? Treasure Island or something. When he's in Scotland with the ape, or there I think he's in caves, and also in Tintin in Tibet. I think there's also some panels there where he's having a shadow himself, or at least the mountains or the cave have the shadow. So it's not that Tintin is completely devoid of shadow. No, there are shadows, but it's a stylistic judgment that sometimes the shadow is so overwhelming that it must be represented with black. But normally, of course, when Tintin or Haddock is just walking on the street or like that, then there is no shadow on the characters. So it's little like an animated movie. Where the normally is not so much shadow in animations, or maybe nowadays, I don't know, but I'm sure you can find many counter examples with, now that they have this ray tracing and all that, and it's relatively easy to make realistic shadows. Alright, so I think that's a little done there, at least. And we color up a little here, and we complete it. Deselect the selection. I could also make a bigger brush. That would make it quicker, but then there's the tendency of that the bigger brush sort of goes over the outline itself and destroys the outline. So I'd rather just take it a few seconds longer, and that I can actually keep my outline as it is. Okay, so that beard is more or less done, and now we just take this one above there and deselect it and brush. We sort of go over it. It's pretty. It's so much fun to sort of this last steps, or when we are filling in the big black areas and like that, everything sort of comes together so quickly here in the end, compared to all the sketching and all the refinements and like that. And but here it sort of really takes shape. So we have something that at least is not too shabby. Now this looks a little funny here, I think, but it's not too bad. There is some adjustment here. Maybe I could just quickly do. This is more roundish in shape here, but this is also more round in the actual. But yeah. And then perhaps this one goes a little like that. Maybe these ones here go too high up also, and they are too thin at that point there. And this one probably should start also a little less, and the angle should be a little different. Also this angle should go down there. Okay. Alright, so how does that? We have done those. Okay, so now we just have the suit. And I'm returning to 4 pixels now. Four pixels down. And this angle here, which goes, so it seems as if it's not completely straight up here, so it goes down, starting from here. It gradually goes down here in a smooth, very smooth curve here, something like that. but it should be even more smooth here. Okay, and this looks pretty good here. It goes in a little there and back again, and then we're following this going down here. And then the angle here is a little different, actually. And this length here is also a little different, so I think it goes more like that, and then comes together there. And this angle is not, or this curve is not so accentuated. Okay, we'll carve out something like that, and then we increase the width here at the end of the curve here, and we shave off a little here. And so we just have to make this smoother here now. Let's see what it looks like without. Okay, I'm just keeping the blue off just a little while till I have adjusted this. So the angle is more smooth. And then the line is less thick down here. And then it gradually a little thicker there. Right. Okay, I think that's pretty good. And then we can do the other parts to 400% back. And I think this line seems to be pretty good. And we can say this that perhaps this line here is too thick. So if we compare with this line up here, for instance, so it seems to me that well, maybe not this one is too thick. This one is actually pretty good. So I think we'll keep. But it seems that this line is a little thicker than these two here. So we'll make them so here also. Just as this line already is a little thicker there. Okay, good. But this one here in the middle is not as thick as the blue line I have made, so I'm just doing a quick single stroke here down, and then it folds down here. I have to move the original here. Oh yeah, that good. That's back to the brush, and the reason why I mean, we could say that the reason that this is a little thicker than this one here could be because there is some shadow under the collar there, so we could rationalize in that sense, but then how would we explain the thicker line on this one? Yeah, so it's not entirely, there's not always a simple explanation for these things. Line weight is one of the mysteries of the universe. When do we use it, and why? Why is it beautiful? Why is it applicable or applicable? Why should we use it? Why could we use it? Why and when? And so one explanation could be perhaps that this is I'm just making this up now, but maybe the reason why he uses so thick lines on the shirt might be because he wants to accentuate that this is a very rigid shirt of the old type, that the collar is really hard and stiff. So maybe it is the stiffness of that he wants to accentuate. Maybe that is the sort of the plan. So I'm now moving this shape here a little bit to I don't know if is this a real tie, or is it a modern tie, or is it some other thing? I'm not sure. I haven't looked. We have to look at the neighboring panels to decide that. But it looks like somewhat like a tie, but at least here in this panel. Good, and then we just have this line here, and this line for his right shoulder here. Well, it's his left shoulder, but we are looking at him, so it becomes his right shoulder from our perspective. So this line here is goes too quickly down. It should be more horizontal. So I have to, let's do something like that instead. And this one should be, so I have to scroll here on the original. Okay, and then there should be equal line weight all the way down here. But the curve should go in a little bit there. Not much, but a little. Then it comes down there. Okay, so now let's see how this looks like without the blue line. There's some blue stuff there, but I'm not sure where that comes from. Yeah. So I'm going solo on that layer now, and this looks pretty good, I think. %. I think that's not so bad. There is some ink there we could fill in, so we can return to the brush and black and fill in the blacks a little more. And I go down to 2 pixels now, so I can get into these shapes here better. And the same goes for the beard. Did I call that a beard? No, it's a moustache. I don't remember what I said. How? So it goes that this should be black. Yeah, right. This also black. This also black here. Okay. Black, 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 black. Everything. And black. Let's see if we have something on the hair as well. There is some detail there. Can fix. Okay. And also we can really his neck here to make it go tighter to the other shape here. So alright, so we have something here. So now I'm just going to take a small break and I'll back in 1 second. Okay, so we're back and we are going to zoom out and we're going to look at the blue here to see if we have missed anything. And it doesn't look like that. So what we are going to do next is to get the frame again and the balloon again, and we want to get the angle lines, I think. So the angle lines, so let's say we're preliminary done with that, and then we have the angle lines merged. So then we have sort of made the, so I think that seems to be the most reasonable division of labor here, that we do the angle lines also this video. We're already 1 hour and 12 minutes in, and so maybe we can do this in 15 minutes or 20 minutes or something like that, and then we have done half the panel in one session. I think that's really great. And then we just have the other half left, and I think if we look at if you look at Tintin and the hand and the sweat drops, I think that's approximately the same number of lines. Because this was a little tricky with all this hair and all these details and all these lines in the face here and all, so many things to. So I think that the lines are somewhat simpler. Of course, the hand in itself is not entirely easy, but still. Okay, so let's just do the angle lines then. And let's do them at 400% as we did before. And then we can what we will do is then we want to separate the angle lines from calculus, so we make a new layer here. Angle lines, ink, and whoops, ink part 14, and we want a white copy. Keeping Alt down and dragging up a copy. Angle lines, ink. Multiply mode, and we are B for brush, and we have, what do we have? We have 2 here. Pixel, 4 pixel we want. And I'm now also scrolling sideways here on my left monitor here on the original panel, and I always look on that. is a little up here. Maybe I should go down I think I'll go down to 2 here, because since we have strokes here that are quite thin, it's easier to work with a thinner brush. And then we can double up, go over it several times if the stroke is a little broader, a little thicker. So now I'm just following the blue lines here, because as I remember them, we did a pretty good job here. These ones were, I think, harder than I ever thought they would be. And now I see that this stroke went too far back there, so it should, this Zorro's mark, as I called it. There's a very beautiful ending there. It's like art. Okay, that's that. I'm scrolling up, and I'm doing that here on my left monitor also, so easier you can see it. I'm back to the brush. Yeah, so in the case of Tintin, every panel is a masterpiece, more or less. A masterpiece in drawing, a masterpiece in composition, a masterpiece in drama or humor or adventure, a masterpiece in character personification, or like how to come up with characters that really fit the behavior, fit their temperament, fit their mental and emotional kind of characteristics. So it's and I think especially in the later works, and I'm now probably, if we say, like, not in the what are those picaros or this when they are in South America with the gorilla and all these. I'm not sure that I'm personally. I don't personally, I don't think that adventure was one of the best. And I have some reasons for saying that, but otherwise, I think these later ones that were made in the 50s and 60s, like Tintin in Tibet, for instance. I think that's super. And I think that that the one that we're working with here is super. And also the ones where Tintin goes to the moon also. So I think that those ones are the ones that sort of stand out more than others. And now we should go back to the painting here, or the drawing here, and to adjust, because it's a thinner line. This one is a thinner one. And this one is a little bit thinner also. Like that. Not so bad. Okay, so now let's go over to the other side here. I have to scroll on my left monitor here as well. So let's start with the ones on the top there. And I'm still have to adjust the angle. I'm going to adjust the angle first on this one here, because that's the one requiring the most angle adjustment. It's not astronomical adjustment, but I mean, still it should be better. I guess it should be a little thicker also. And this side is even thicker than this one, so, and then that angle is almost perfect. And now I'm circling here to get that round. Also here is a round shape there, but this one is not so round there. It's more rectangular, or more like a 90-degree sort of angle. And what we can say now is that probably just a teeny weeny thinner this line here. Okay, and let's now do the second one. Back to the brush, back to black. Back to black. Wow, that's a good name. Rhyming and everything. We can say that of the DuPonts. Back to black costumes. Back to black. Maybe a little closer to the glass there. Just like that. Right, and maybe the stroke goes, and then it sort of ends a little different angle there, upwards. Okay. and this angle here with the thunderbolt, but this angle line and the thunderbolt coming from the tail, these are different. So these are a couple of degrees different. And that is important, that they are different from a comic book artist's perspective. I think it would be bad if they were parallel. So this one, the first one, is almost parallel, but it doesn't matter so much. But the one which is most close to this line here has an angle to it compared to this line here. So I think that's so when we're doing effects like that, so also like here, up here, we can think like, we can maybe look up here also, look at this. So this line up here is not the same angle as the balloon frame or the balloon outline. There is an angle to it, and that is, I speculate, but that is consciously done. That is it's not a mistake, or it's not a happenstance. It's well thought through. So the algorithm here, when it comes to the angle lines, is that they normally seems to emanate out from his head in approximately 90 degrees from the head, except here where you don't have space to do that, right? So then you want to have an angle line, but you have to sort of make it lying down more, but you can't make it lying down more than this one. So this one and these ones must have different angles, and this one must also have a different angle than this stroke here. So by putting the balloon panel, or the balloon outline, the balloon border, horizontal like this, we already guarantee that there are no horizontal lines close here to, or we set the premise that this more or less makes it impossible to have anything else close here that is parallel to this. So if there is something to be close, if there is a stroke close here, it must have an angle. Same with the head here. His head cannot be parallel to the, unless it's further removed from the balloon outline. Okay, so let's continue. We have 3 more strokes, and back to white, and I am on 2 pixels because these angle lines are, some of them have very thin lines, so some of them are in the neighborhood of 2 pixels, so then it's suitable, it's appropriate to use that as a brush size. Okay, here's a little black, and we have another one of those Zorro's mark. There, maybe even goes out a little further, but and then back to black. And the blue line seems to be pretty good. And then of course I'm following along on the original when I'm doing this. So I'm not just using the blue line. And that is good, that it sort of actually comes together, even though there may be one or two mistakes, or many mistakes maybe even, but I still think that the overall feel of it starts to coming together now. So it feels a little bit like it was an original, at least to me. So that's very, I think that's very, a lot of fun to do this work, because I feel like you have a little bit of connection to Auger and the studio, that we are doing this work, and we're sort of also, we can say, documenting the details, and I think that's not so commonly done nowadays. I mean, there are lots of books and like that, but about Auger and his life and all that, and maybe even some on his technique, and but I think there are a few places where they have discussed the artwork in great detail, like we have done in these parts here. So I think perhaps this can be valuable not only for people who are drawing, but also as a document of like what the technique and how his line work looks when we're looking at it more in higher detail, in higher magnification. So getting this approximately all right there. And of course, since we have also a good thing now is that even if we don't do more inking on calculus at this moment, we can always get back to it later on. We can even color it, and we can do stuff like that, and then we can look at it again, and then we can decide, okay, we want to fix this, or we could fix that. So always we are prepared to to edit some more. And I think that's a very good attitude to have if you're a comic book artist, that we're not never really done. And you can see this in Hergé's life also, that he didn't complain when the English publisher, he was looking at Il Noir, that when Tintin goes to England and to dresses into a Scotsman, Hergé didn't complain when the English publisher said that this is the book with many faults in it, and you have to change a million details. And so Hergé redid the whole book and adapted it so that, and he even sent, I think it was Bob Demore. He sent Bob Demore to England to take photographs and to make drawings of different places that would fit, that, so you get an actual island and an actual mountain and all these things. So editing is very important, that we can always do our work better. Okay. I'm pretty happy with this. Maybe I can add some line weight here, but some thickness here, but on the whole I think we are maybe just that stroke there. I'm going to angle lines. Where are the angle lines? Angle lines, those are there, and where do we have the angle lines? Merged, there they are. Now I want to go back. Yeah, so I did some. So let's just take a look at the blackness of the angle lines. Do they look good? I am again take one more round now, and then we'll call it a day. So I'm on white and I'm on 2 pixels here, 2 pixel brush. I'm fixing the stroke there, it looks better. So I go down there, and this Zorro here, a little thicker perhaps, up here. And then this must be more. And must be an up. How to do this? More like that. Maybe somewhat longer. Maybe that's the slightly less. Okay, that's one, and this one we can little darker there. Okay. There's a bulging out a little there. Okay, and it ends in a tip up there. Okay, and then we have scrolling on my left monitor here now. Okay, whoops. And it's the blackness now, I think, which is the most. This could be just a little darker here. And it becomes a little more, a little thicker, but I think that's all right. The stroke goes straight up there, and this stroke goes straight down almost. And but this line here is thicker. And it's a little bent here, so slight curve to it, as most lines are. Slight curve. That looks good. And then this can be a little thicker there, but very little. Okay, good. Let's move on. I am scrolling on my right monitor here also, or my left monitor, sorry. And back again to that. This looks, this stroke to the right there is not thick enough. I mean, according to the original, so. And the angle there again. Maybe it's this one here also. This one is too thick, and this one. Oh, I think that's better. And then we have this stroke here, and then this line should go slightly up there. Should go slightly up and end there. And it should fold back a little bit, so the angle should not be perfectly vertical, but it should go down slightly there, backwards. Let's simulate that. And the same with this one. There's a slight folding back there, but this should be roundish, this corner here. Okay, and then I think that line looks pretty good, so we're moving on. Last three lines here. Back to the right monitor. Yeah, and this one is too thin. The first one here is too thin. Yeah, I also see this now, that they are too much to the left. But the question is, where is Tintin? So we have to look at Tintin. Tintin R3. He is there, and this one here is, okay, I see it now. It must be longer and it must be moved. So when the balloon tail comes down there, the lower line here of the balloon tail should line up with the edge of the anchor line. And this second one in the middle should also be moved slightly to the right. So we have two things we want to move. We want to move this one here. So many things we can do here, but I'm not cutting and copying. So this is the left, so I want to move it to here. Here. Oh, then we're going to extend the left. Okay, and Tintin should be closer to Tintin. Okay, somewhere along there. And then now I'm fixing on this here. So I'm extending this just a little bit there. Yeah, that looks better. Maybe smoothing it out with some white here is not as thick here. Maybe like something like that. And there's some bulging up there also. So okay. And this one should be longer as well. And now V, and we can move it one more. So we are a little closer to Tintin here. And actually this stroke should be more horizontal. So we should end this more like here. Approximately the same shape, but it's just more horizontal at the very end. That. And these strokes are approximately equally long. But this upper one is more heavy. It's more has more thickness to it. Thickness also there. Okay, I think that's pretty good, and then we can use our pencil here and some white just to. I'm painting now on this new layer here. So this is the right number 3 anchor line. because we were counting, I think, from the top 1, 2 above there, and 3, 4, 5 then. And now I want to copy the number 4 because I want to move that to the right as well. And I'm taking two, keeping shift down and making 2 selections, and copy paste V for move. And now I'm moving this something like that, and maybe even a little up. So we're in the original, this line here comes to his mouth here. So I think we're pretty good with that. And also what I see, and then we can name this R4 here. And what I see now with R3 up here is that it points up here, and this seems to be pretty good. The distance between the balloon tape. Maybe we can bring it down just 1 notch there too, or maybe not. I think we'll take it there as it is now. I think that's a good enough approximation. And then this horizontal line goes to Tintin's face here, slightly above the middle, or between his nose and the mouth, and a little up there. So it seems to fit perfectly with with the original. And okay, that's good. And then R4, let's paint on that. Now we have moved it, and we also note here that this distance here between R3 and R4 is smaller than in between R4 and R5. And it seems to be virtually identical, this distance here to Tintin's. And also position here. The position of this line here goes to this corner of Professor Calculus's mouth. So we are pretty good shape. Okay, and we are now just making this line a little bit thicker here. Not much. It's a small adjustment. Small adjustment there. But then here we have some blackness to add. And also here, this corner should go down more there, I think. And then make it black. This should be also this edge here. We should refine that. And maybe we should even, yeah, I think we do that. We'll do that. We will refine. Let's first refine this end here. Refine, not like that. this angle here a little different. Okay. And we're going to adjust this here. It goes up too much here. And possibly this is a few, maybe it's pretty good. Yeah. And a little more roundish here up here. Okay. And more white around there, some residue black here. And then let's do the last one here. There should be some going up there at the very end. And it looks like he's taking his broad pen there and then going backwards, coming down there. Like a calligraphy pen or something like that. Whether it is a calligraphy pen or not, or just a simulated effect, I don't know, but that's the impression I get from looking at the original. Alright, so now this is black as well, I think. So I think we can do this now, that we do we merge into a new layer, and angle lines merged. Multiply. So then we have those ready on a dedicated layer. So, and that is of course the plan, that we have everything that we want to color, we want to have in one layer, and then everything that is just black, we want to separate that, because when we're sending the line work to get our color flats, we don't need, I mean, we could have sent the effects and also, but I think it's always a good thing that we minimize the line art, and we will do that when the line art is complete. We will then edit the line art into a new kind of layer, which we then modify to become the color layer. So we will go through that so this is part 14, and then we'll probably be finished with the inking in 15, and then we can do that in the 16, and then we can do some other things with layers also, to prepare for the coloring. Alright, so before we finish, just one quick reminder here of 987 degrees centigrade and 40 pages full color printed comic book album. science fiction, thriller, adventure, lots of fun. Okay, see you in the next part, and thank you very much for listening and watching this video, and hope you have enjoyed it, and see you next time.